Hey there, it's Jenny from Southern Savers. It's Monday night and our weekly Q&A. This week we are going to go back to a topic that we've not done in over 4 years, but someone specifically requested that we recover how to save and plan for college. And guys, this is really a topic that I feel like every parent needs to start thinking at 6th grade. And that may seem really early for you, but here's the thing. Your kids can start earning high school credit in 7th grade. And if my kid can start earning high school credit in 7th grade, that means that if we are starting early, we're thinking ahead of where we're going to go and what classes we're going to take, that ultimately I'm saving some years of high school to be acquiring college credits. Now, I'm not trying to force my kids to grow up, and I think even my girls that are now rising seniors in college would even tell you they've had a wonderful college experience, but there are some aspects of college that are crazy expensive, and if we can think ahead, we can save a lot of money by being proactive. So if you've got a kid, even in 5th grade, it doesn't hurt to start just pondering, tucking away this information. Now, I know the other bit here that some folks will say is, my kid's in public school. I don't really need to think through this. Guys, the guidance counselors in any school system, they're stretched to the limit. I even remember I met with my guidance counselor like twice in 4 years of high school. They do not have the time to know the ins and outs of every student in their caseload, much less their high school. So as a parent, this needs to be a hat that we are wearing. I'm not saying that you're planning out every single course they're taking if your kid is in public school, but you being proactive on what do we need to be achieving? Where do we need to be going? What classes should we be trying to get into? Never hurts for you to all be on the same page, even in the public school setting. Now, for me, to give you my background, I've homeschooled my kids all the way through. So I have seniors in college now, but I started by teaching them how to read in kindergarten. So I have gotten to see that full picture of how it's played out in our lives after basically 18 years of homeschooling, because you kind of start the minute they're born, right? And now into the college side. So I also have a rising senior in high school. So we're about to do this all over again, or in a sense, we have been doing this all over again, getting her ready so that she is going to go in with almost as many credit hours as her twin sisters did. So that's what I want to hit on. It's not always about the money in the savings account. That's great, and I'm all for having more money tucked away, but sometimes that's the hardest part, right? If we only have $100 to save at the end of the month, where is it going? I hate to break it to you, but it doesn't need to go in a college savings account. I'm all for helping my children. I have 5 of them. I want them to have a really great future. But if money is super tight and you're trying to put money in savings, college savings is not the most important thing. It's actually retirement savings. So just to start us there, if your money is super tight, your focus needs to be, I at least got the bare bones basic in my retirement account this year before I'm trying to fund college accounts. And if money is tight, let's talk college accounts for a second. This is where you could really be reaching out to extended family. So when grandparents are asking, what do they want for their birthday? What do they want for Christmas? You can always say, hey, we would love it if you put money in their college savings accounts. So the main mode for saving for college is a 529 plan. Those are college investment accounts that are only meant for higher education. They have pros and cons. There's no federal tax incentive there. The only incentive is that when you take the money out, if you use it for college education, you're not taxed on any of the earnings that were in the account. But I don't get any benefit from the start. Anything that goes in it, there's no benefit for tucking away the money like there would be if you were putting money in a traditional IRA or a 401k. But you do get some perks when the money comes out. It does come out tax-free as long as it has gone to higher education. There could be some state tax reduction from a 529 plan. That does depend on your state's policies with a 529 plan. So you just need to research what your state's rules are there. But here's the reason that a lot of folks do like them. It's that anybody can contribute to them. So grandparents, I can give them the account information. They can put money in a 529 plan. Aunts, uncles, you get the idea. So it's a very easy access account to tuck money in for anyone. One little tip too, if you are just starting out, maybe you've got younger kids and you're like, okay, we're gonna do a 529 plan. Bare bone, you can put $50 in it. There's no minimum here. So you just put in what you can. Grandparents put in $50, it doesn't matter. So don't feel like you couldn't do it. It really doesn't have to be huge. But one thing I would recommend is, I have 5 kids, yes. We only have one 529 plan for our family. It's not the main way that we have saved for people's college, first off. And we'll go to that in a second. But it is a account that I can always change who the beneficiary is. So my older 2, it looked like they were gonna have good scholarships and things were gonna work out well for them. They didn't need that 529 plan. So I actually changed the beneficiary on the account to the next kid down. If she doesn't end up using it, change it to the next kid down. So you can always move whose account that is. And I didn't need 5 different accounts then. I really could deal with it as we get there. As this money is needed, it can be that kid's money, or they can use a piece of it and save some for other siblings if that's the case too. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So far, our 529 plan, we have not needed. And that's pretty magical. So one thing that I would recommend, and this is where more of our college savings went, is if your kids get a job, so they do have to have an income. This could literally be babysitting money, summer job. One of the boyfriends that was here last week is lifeguarding at the YMCA. He's making good money. I'm thinking I should just quit my day job and go be a lifeguard. Whatever that job may be, if they have income, they could really be tucking away a lot of their summer income in a Roth IRA. Now that is retirement, but a Roth IRA goes in after tax. It doesn't give them any tax benefits right now, but they don't need tax benefits. As long as they're making less than $9,000 a year, they pay no taxes. So the upfront tax benefit has no impact for them. But if they are making any money, they can put that money in a Roth IRA. You could put that money in a Roth IRA for them. Maybe they saved some of it themselves. They got to spend some, but you knew how much they made. That's how much they could put in. That Roth IRA can be used for retirement, but it can also be used for higher education penalty-free. So this is a perfect way to save for college, because now if they don't need it, anything that they don't end up using, they can just enjoy a head start on their retirement savings. There's another perk to a Roth IRA over a 529 here as well. And you might not be there if you have 5th graders or 6th graders, but once you hit college mode, you are going to have to fill out the FAFSA, which is the Federal Student Aid. It's a magical form. It's going to tell you you get no money. Don't get excited. But when you fill out that form, it factors in any 529 plan that your kid has that is in their name first, before any aid is available to them. It does not factor in any retirement accounts. So if their college savings is in a Roth IRA, it is basically sheltered from that federal student aid form. It doesn't exist in the numbers and the calculation of their possible student aid. Now again, the only way that they can put money in a Roth IRA is if they have earned income, but starting early high school, if they're getting that summer job, there is a good potential that they're going to have that earned income. So just to put that out there as a few investment things to know about. 529 plans are great. not telling you to not go there. Maybe you go there until they start to get a job, right? And then we switch and we start to try to put some money into a Roth IRA because it's protecting them on that student aid index number as well. Okay, let's go a little bit more in depth on other things that you can be doing that's not necessarily tucking away money, because I can't make money appear if the money's not there to tuck away, right? We need other ways to be able to save. So this is where I say I want you to start thinking about it when they're in 6th grade, because come 7th grade, they can start to earn high school credit. We need to start thinking, I'm not forcing my kids to decide right now what they want to be. Believe me, my 10-year-old, she rotates between being a dentist, being an astronaut, and for a while it was being a dentist to cheetahs. So I get it. We are not narrowing down. Now, dentist is what I hear a lot of. So in my brain, I'm like, oh, you better be saving more money than I was thinking. But who knows what this 10-year-old's going to decide, right? What we do need to start looking at, though, in our kids is, what are they good at? You can tell that early on. As a homeschool mom, I can tell you which kid cries more over math, which kid can correct my grammar, right? I know where their strengths and their weaknesses are. So I can already tell you, okay, this kid is probably going to go into the sciences. If that's the case, then in high school, I need to be trying to give them more sciences. I need to be preparing them for that college level science, whatever it is that they may end up doing, whatever that looks like. Even one of my seniors, I don't think I would, or my college seniors, I don't think I would have seen her choose botany, which is what she's chosen. And she really didn't narrow in on that until she was about a junior in high school. She started to volunteer at a local herbarium that is on South Carolina's campus here in town, and fell in love with it. I could have told you she was going to go into the sciences before then, for sure, but I wouldn't have known botany for her. So you can still plan ahead even if you don't know specifics, because knowing sciences still tells me what kind of schools are we looking at. Are we looking at schools that are just gen ed, or are we looking at schools that are going to have a lot of research and science potentials? That's going to change even down to the classes that I'm trying to get you in for high school. Now, obviously, as a homeschool mom, I'm doing a lot more work on that than the public school or the private school mom is. You're going to be somewhat focused on what your school is offering, but these are still great questions to be asking the school that you're in. What types of classes are available for my kid when they hit 10th, 11th, and 12th grade? Because number one, what colleges are looking for is that your kid has taken the hardest level classes that are available to them. Now, for their high school, that might be a couple APs. Your high school may not offer a lot of options, maybe just 2 or 3 AP classes. Maybe they don't offer any. Then we need to step back and we need to say, well, does my high school allow us to do dual enrollment? Maybe not as an actual class with the high school, but we do it on our own and the high school counts it. So that is one of the things that colleges are looking for in admissions, especially the colleges that are focused on research. Your heavier science and heavier academic universities, what was the highest level class available to them, and did they take it? Did they do well in it? That's what they want to see. So we've done 2 routes in our family, and there's really 4 options for early college credit. The first one that most of us have access to is advanced placement classes, AP courses. Those are offered through your high school. For homeschoolers, we have to go through accredited teachers. They do exist. They're in online platforms. We've used the Potter School, which is an online school. We've also used Pennsylvania Homeschoolers. We're not in Pennsylvania, but it's an online platform that allows accredited AP teachers to teach a virtual class. So we've done that for a few subjects as well. With AP, if you know nothing about what I'm talking about, the gist is your kids are going to take a class, and at the end of it, they have to pass a test. The test is offered by College Board, who runs the SAT as well, the PSAT also. If they do not pass the test, they get no college credit, and that's kind of a bummer. So you need to then really be thinking about your kid. My first 2, who are twins, are crazy smart. can give them a book. They read the book. They remember the book forever. They kind of make you sick in that standpoint. My third kid, who is going to be a senior in high school this coming fall, is not that kid. And if she knows that everything hinges on a test, she will turn into a little puddle of jelly and cry. That is what the word test can do to her. She has major test anxiety. AP classes are not meant for her. She does great in dual enrollment classes, and she can pass some tests. Don't get me wrong. She's a smart kid. She just freezes when she thinks that a test is the say all and be all of the course, and that's just not going to work. So no AP for her. We've gone fully dual enrollment with her. Now, the plus side for dual enrollment, to give you the other side of that, unlike AP, it's not all hinging on a test. You just take the class. At a tech school or a local college, you pass the class, you get the credit. It's that simple. So if your kid is doing well in honors and advanced level classes at a high school point, they probably would actually do well in a dual enrollment class. So I would encourage you to look into that. Depending on the state that you're in, these courses could be free. And that's pretty sweet too. So we live in South Carolina, and in South Carolina, the lottery money for South Carolina pays for dual enrollment for at least 2 classes. You must take 2 every semester. You can take more than 2, but as long as you take 2, they're free at the local tech school. That's pretty sweet. I can't find a free AP class. So now we're getting a deal. We are getting college credit, and we're paying absolutely nothing for it. I do have to buy her books, but I would have to do that anyway if I was homeschooling her. So for me, it's a great decision to choose that dual enrollment side. So we've got advanced placement, we have dual enrollment. There's also CLEP tests. This is where you actually study on your own. You take a test, and if you pass the test, you get college credit for it. Not all colleges honor CLEP tests. So really, we need to circle back. And the big part here, before we even make decisions on AP or dual enrollment or CLEP, is researching what some of the schools around you accept. I need to know, before I put my kid in the class, is it going to be a course that is worth something at some universities that they could end up at? And I know right now we're shooting pennies in the dark. We have no clue where they're going to land. But you have a general idea, mostly because we need them to stay in state. If they want to go out of state, you're choosing to pay 50% more to a in-state or a state school in another state. Let's not choose that option. In-state, that is already half the price of out-of-state. Not to mention you're walking away from potentially some in-state scholarship money that is just offered based on their test scores or their class rank. We don't want to walk away from free money. So I already have some things narrowed down, right? I know the key schools in my area that you potentially are going to end up at. I could research a few private schools as well, but I have a general ballpark of where you're going. So your homework in all of this is to really start to look at, if I put you in this class, will they even accept it? And every college has a course equivalency lookup page. And so this is where you want to come over and you want to start to play with whatever the course is. And I'll try to make this where you can see it. I pulled up Clemson. We're in South Carolina. This is the #1 school for my high school senior, and it's also a very hard school to get into. Clemson has an admission rate right now that's in the 30% rank, and I don't have a National Merit Scholar on my hands here. I did. One of my high school senior or my college seniors was a National Merit Scholar. Go, Emma. But that's not our third kiddo. So for her, we've got a lot of dual enrollment. We're hoping, Clemson's going to work out. But before we even do a class, we need to come in here and we need to play with what are we thinking about you taking, and let's make sure that it is accepted. And they've got a lot of schools in here, but I can show you a few that we've done. So I can go, we're in South Carolina, and then we're going to put in our city So we live around Columbia, South Carolina, and now I have all the colleges that are available to me as well. So for us, we've done free courses at Midlands Tech, and it's super smart, guys. This is just one university, but every university has a course equivalency system. These are ones that they've already approved. Now, if you find that one that you want to have is not showing up, you can always submit things and try to get it approved, but it's super simple if it's already approved. You don't have to do any legwork whatsoever. So for Mary, if she takes, let's see, right now she is about to take math. Oh goodness, I think it's, oh, that's marketing. Where are we? Math 155 maybe? I can't even remember. I can click the button and we'll see what it comes up as. Oh, that isn't the course she's in. But it tells you right there, whatever that number I just picked isn't transferable. We wouldn't want to take that class for Midlands Tech. I don't even remember what the number is. Let's see. There we go. She's going to take statistics. So if she takes math 120, it comes in as statistics. I need to know that. Sometimes you're going to see, you know what, it doesn't come in as a course, or it comes in as a transfer course, or it comes in as not transferable. I don't want to put my kids in something that does not come in as the course that they took. That's the worst thing ever, right? Congratulations, you took business calc, but they're not going to count it as business calc. You have to take it again. Nobody wants to tell their kid that. So this is going to take you 30 minutes, plugging in some courses on a few different college sites. Let's make sure before we take something that they're going to accept it. You'll also find similar sheets for their AP classes. So I can search whatever that AP chart might be. They've got one of those too. So as you go hunting, this is just Googling. For me, I just popped it in, Clemson AP chart. Whatever college, University of Tennessee AP chart. I'm gonna know what score do they need to get on that exam and what classes they get if they got that score. So if you took AP Lit and Comp, which is this class right here, and you got a 3 or a 4 on it, they're gonna give you 1 semester of English. If you took AP Lit and Comp and you got a 5 on it, they're gonna give you 2 semesters of English. You get an idea of how high you're gonna need to score to be able to get any sort of credit for that AP exam. You're gonna find some universities that if you don't even get a 5, they give you nothing. That would be very scary. You're telling your kids they have to get a perfect score. And I can only imagine the stress that would cause. So you want to do some homework. You want to know, can my kid pass the AP exam in the end? Are they a good test taker? And what they're going to get for that course afterwards at the various colleges. And every college's AP chart is different. There's some, like Duke, for example, if your kids are like, let's go big, let's go Duke. Duke says, we're so glad you took them, but we're not going to give you much for them. So you have to be ready for that. You have to know that going in. And this is also where, as you start to tour colleges, your first question as you're touring colleges needs to be, do you accept transfer credits? How do you apply them? Is there a max that I can bring in? We toured Furman. Sorry if you love Furman. Furman was off of our list within 5 minutes. We asked them that question on a tour. Should have asked them that question before the tour, but we didn't. How do you handle transfer credits and AP credits? And they said, well, we're so glad you took them, but we are a 4-year university and we do not let anyone graduate early. So you're telling me that my kids are going to come in with 50 credit hours, really 55. That's what my first 2 graduated high school with, 55 credit hours, and you're still going to make them sit here for 4 years. That's kind of crazy. So you need to ask those questions, right? I don't want to waste my girls' money or their time in doing that. Now, why would we focus on this in the first place? You need to realize when we're really looking at dual enrollment and AP that you are getting that college course at a fraction of the price. So this past year, we did some dual enrollment at Columbia International University. It's like 10 minutes from our house. It's a Christian college, small Christian college, and it was amazing. Their dual enrollment cost $100 a credit hour. Their cost to take the class for everyone that's not dual enrollment, almost $1,000 a credit hour. It's the same class with the same assignments. We're getting it for 1/10 of what everyone else is paying. So in my world, you do not graduate high school early. And I don't care how much you beg mama to graduate high school early. The longer that I keep you at home, I'm okay with that. And the longer we do dual enrollment in AP, even if we're knocking them out early, the more we're getting done with these basic core gen ed kind of classes at a fraction of the cost. So free at the local tech school. We did switch to the Christian college. We're actually going back to the tech school this fall. So we've been, kind of all over the place for Mary and her dual enrollment. But it gives you some ideas of, just things to think about. The fact that graduating high school early is great and all, but the minute I graduate you, that price just skyrocketed. So no, we're not graduating. And if you are curious as to how that looks too, because we have way more high school credits than we need. I think in South Carolina, you need 24 credits to graduate from high school. Mary will have 31 when she graduates next year. I'm pretty sure my older two were about that same mark. If you're worried about that, then you kind of plan their high school curriculum to where the key classes that you must have to graduate for your state, you don't take until they're a senior. So for us, South Carolina now requires that you take a personal finance class. Pretty sure I can handle that one for her. So we're going to take a personal finance class the last semester of her senior year. She's already taken econ. She's actually doing government this summer, dual enrollment. Those are the ones that we kind of held off on our older two. Just one class is all it takes. You're missing that one required class, you can't graduate early. That's all we got to do. And we can sit there in dual enrollment until we take that one little class. And that's a great way to kind of work that at a huge cost savings as long as we possibly can. And that's awesome. So Shannon's saying, y'all love dual enrollment. You did dual enrollment at Georgia Southern. Because of that, she didn't even have to apply there. She could just start in college, which is amazing. Most of my sister-in-laws went to Georgia Southern, so I feel like we may know each other in a whole different side of life there. One sister-in-law still lives in Statesboro, so go Eagles. But yes, dual enrollment has a lot of those perks. The same for CIU that Mary's already been at. She actually had professors asking her if she could help them on research projects, and then she had to tell them, I'm not 18 yet. At which point they were like, oh, that changes things. We can't be in this room without other people in the room. There are different policies for dual enrollment students. But how great to be in a small university and already have that door opening to be part of research, which is really hard to get into in larger universities. Okay, guys, I had a long list here, so we'll see how much I make it through. I think we're like here on my list. This is really, it's just one of those things that as a mom and a homeschool mom and being in college mode that I could probably talk on for like 4 Q&As. So let's talk testing for a minute here, no matter what age your kid is. First off is the PSAT. They take that their 11th grade year, but no one tells you that you can actually start to take that guy pretty much anytime you want. You just call and register for it. You don't even have to take it at your designated high school. There are a number of private schools, I have no doubt, that offer it in your area. And this is where, even if you are a public schooler, homeschoolers are your best friend. Because they exist, there are options for everyone that help you to kind of get out of what is the norm if you want to. So we can take the PSAT as early as we want. If you've got a super smart kid, having that kid actually take it in the 7th grade could be huge, and it can open up some summer scholar opportunities and actually some early scholarship opportunities because they tested in 7th grade and hit certain levels. We're not looking for them to be national merit in 7th grade. We're just looking for them to achieve better than expected, that's all that they need to hit some of those summer scholar programs. So in South Carolina, it's the Palmetto Junior Scholars. A lot of different states have this, and this is really thanks to Duke. Duke started this back when I was in school. I took the SAT in 7th grade for the Duke Talent Search. The Duke Talent Search no longer exists. It closed down after COVID. But there are a number of states that still keep their pieces of that going. So that is taking the PSAT or the SAT in 7th grade. And you may not even be considering it, but if your kid is already maybe staffed gifted or is handling grade level stuff like a pro, it's totally worth it to just put them in there. The PSAT costs like $20. This is not a big expense. The only part you're doing is getting them into the testing. So you can ask your local high school if they can sit in, or you can go to a local private school and just say, hey, can I pay for the test? They'll say yes. They're used to homeschoolers asking, and you would miss that day of school because the PSAT is offered on a school day, and you would jump over here and take the test. Every school is going to give you an excused absence for that. So you can start that in 7th grade. They don't really recommend that you take it any earlier than 7th grade. I mean, you could. I don't know. You know your kid better than me. But 7th grade works. And then if you want, they can actually keep taking it. So all of my girls started taking the PSAT in 9th grade. We took it in 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. 11th grade is the year that the PSAT matters. That is when, based on how they do, they get staffed as a National Merit Scholar, a National Merit Finalist as well. So you can be a commended scholar, a semifinalist, or a finalist, depending on where your score fell, and some essays. The finalist does have some paperwork side. So for my twins, one was a commended scholar, one was a National Merit Finalist. This is opening the door, really for both of them, opening the door to a number of universities. And I tried hard. I was like, guys, have you thought about these other universities? They got very set on where they decided to go, and it worked out, and they've been very happy there. But depending on their scores, National Merit, like Vanderbilt, for example, full ride. Vanderbilt tries every year to have the most National Merit finalists in their freshman admitted class. So to do that, they basically throw the university at them to get them to come. That's pretty sweet. That's the one test that matters. Now, the other tests, SAT, ACT, we have a lot of colleges that are still test optional. They went test optional with COVID and they've not gone back. Most of them are saying they're doing this on a year-by-year basis and that they could at any point reenact test as being required for admission. We've not seen it on a lot of these schools. Now, a lot of schools have hinted that it is coming, but for right now, they're still test optional. Here's the thing though, don't let your kids bank on that, because tests are still required, not to get in, but for everything else. So if you want any sort of merit scholarship based on your GPA and your test scores, if I want to just be like, whatever, I don't need any merit scholarship, that's great. But that wasn't us. No, I need you to try to get the top test score or to get close so that we can get the most merit money possible. For my older girls, that was $20,000 a year. That's their merit level scholarship just because of their SAT scores and their GPA. So was the test required to get in? No. Was it required to afford the university? Very possible. So don't sit back and not worry about those tests. You still want to take them, and you still want to even study for them. It's not just a let's take it and see how you do and decide if we're going to give them over to the admissions team or not. You're still going to end up needing them for those advanced merit-based scholarships. And a lot of scholarships are merit-based. Even the ones not coming from the university are still wanting to see the level of academics and the type of student that they're giving that scholarship money to. Okay. And do you have to take the PSAT, or can you go straight to the SAT? My soon-to-be senior, you can totally miss the PSAT. And to be fair, I feel like I sound like a bad mom. I don't want you to take it that way for anyone. I am the poster child for recognizing that no kid is the same as any other kid. And I have identical twins, but I will tell you, no kid is the same as any other kid. So my older two, committed scholar, national merit finalist. My third kid, I have already told you, she's not a tester. It is not her. She's brilliant, but it's not her. We skipped her PSAT. We went to Great Wolf Lodge. So you don't have to take the PSAT. It's a great practice test for the SAT, and it costs $20, where the SAT costs like 60 something. So that's the perk of the PSAT, and I would have loved for her to have done that, but I kind of messed up the dates and had already planned to go to Great Wolf Lodge with a couple other families. And I knew she wasn't going to hit national merit. So I was like, why should I make her miss a really fun trip? And she's been stressed out at the beginning of her junior year. Your junior year is a very stressful year. There was no reason. So you do not have to take that test. It is good practice, but not required for anything. It is just for national merit, and that's it. So yeah, if your kids aren't going to hit it, then maybe their 11th grade year, you're like, you know what, we took it a bunch for practice already, but we're just going to sit it out. That's totally fine too. And she had done that. She had already practiced on the PSAT 9th and 10th grade year. So she got her practice for sure. Okay. Let's see. We hit a lot of things on classes. One thing to consider for dual enrollment in AP is when you start them. Some AP courses are not going to let you take them until 10th grade or 11th grade. Guys, this is where you want to fight for your kids too. AP allows you to take them in 9th grade. You can start earning AP credit in 9th grade. The classes that you pass the test for, you've got that college credit, and it will stick with them until they graduate 4 years from now. So if you feel like your kids can pass it in 9th grade, you need to be fighting for them to get into that class. I've even done that to the point of changing a graduation year on a form. If that's what they needed to see, I knew my kids could pass the test. So it's whatever you need to do. For dual enrollment, a lot of places will not let them start unless you've got a test or some way to prove that they're doing well. They will not let them start until 10th grade for dual enrollment on college, universities, or local tech schools. But you can start in 9th grade, and that's going to be working with those admissions counselors in that dual enrollment department to find out what they need to get approved for that in 9th grade. We have not tried that. We started dual enrollment with Mary in 10th grade at the local Midlands Tech Center, and you just need to think about who you're putting your kids around at that point too. I was not ready for that even in 10th grade. We did that the spring of her 10th grade year. But for 9th grade, you're literally putting your 13-year-old in a room with 18 to who knows what, anyone that's going back to tech school. And I'm not really quite ready for that level for my kids. So wouldn't have done that in 9th grade. And with the local tech school, we've done a lot of virtual classes with them for dual enrollment, not a lot of in-person. So it's, again, what you're willing to handle in terms of the setting you're putting your kids in. And it's one of the reasons we switched to the local Christian college rather than the tech school after that first semester. It was rough. She was in classes, even down to teachers coming in drunk. I mean, it was rough. We definitely had our say about that. Now, that saying, we are going back, but to virtual classes. So you do want to do your research. You want to ask some other parents, what has dual enrollment been like at the university? What are the teachers like? And that reminds me, one big thing to look up, and this is a great resource. My college kids were like, yeah, of course I use that all the time. I had never really thought about it. But guys, this is where Rate My Professor needs to come in. So as you are looking at dual enrollment, you're pondering where you're going to send your kids. So for me, I'm sitting here pondering Midlands Tech and what classes you're going to go in. I want to sit here and research any professor that we may end up with. So as you're looking at different courses, the courses will have that professor's name off to the side, and you can easily see what their rating is. Now, keep in mind, when people have things to say, many times it is because they're grumpy, right? But we can also see really great reviews. So you'll see professors that get a 5-star, you'll see professors that get a 1-star, but a lot of folks will give you a paragraph about that professor too, like he never listened to questions, he talked over the students, he was really hard to reach. Those are huge red flags for putting a dual enrollment student in that course. That is not what we want. I want to put my kids in a course that's going to give them a teacher who loves what they're teaching and is super accessible to the kids. Not that I don't think my kids can be the adult that they need to be in the class, but nobody wants to be in that setting with that kind of teacher, right? So definitely use the Rate My Professor before you sign up for class. All your college kids are doing it. You might as well be doing it for your dual enrollment students too, just so you're having a little leg up on what is going to be hitting you when that class starts and you're not shocked at what you've just pushed your kids into. It's going to definitely save some time. I've heard that some of the junior colleges now offer 4-year degrees. Yes, they do. A number of the local tech schools are kind of branching into that 4-year side on specific degrees. And some of it is they're being held back by what they're allowed to do. Some of the larger universities, public universities, will say, no, we offer that degree and we don't want you doing that in this town. But if there's not as much competition in that area, it opens the door for the tech school to offer some more advanced degrees or certifications. So we've got a great friend who is sending her kid to the local tech school and then actually transferring to another tech school in North Carolina because they have one of the best programs for sign language and being an interpreter. That's awesome. And that's at a tech school. That's not a 4-year degree. So that's an example of a mama and a kid doing the homework of figuring out what is it that I want to do and where is the best route to get there. And it's not always a 4-year degree or a big university. It could end up being a tiny little university outside of Raleigh. That's where she's headed for that particular school. Cindy, sorry, I didn't mean to skip your question there. What are the benefits of going to the South Carolina Governor's School? So benefit there would be that you're in a peer group that is an accelerated peer group as well. It's very hard to get into. You're in a peer group that is loving whatever that bubble is that you're put in. And hopefully you're with some really great teachers. It is one that my 2 older ones got invited to. I was not willing to do a boarding school side there. It could open the door to some other universities and saying, hey, you got accepted into this really great program and we're gonna give you some scholarships. It could end up really meaning nothing at the same time though. So you need to be okay with that. And I would say before I made that decision, I would really be asking, what is our goal in going here? And if we ended up with no extra scholarships or no extra notoriety, is that okay? Because if that ended up happening, would you be okay with just what you got, I guess, from the governor's school is really your question. And there are a number of states that have that type of system. South Carolina's is not unique, but the fact that South Carolina's is a boarding school setting is unique. So you asking if you're, okay with that, those are big questions for your family, if your kid's ready for that as well. Oh, and Sheila, you know what? I will be there someday. And I'm kind of glad that I'm almost done with 2 of them being in school. But, maybe you can tuck some things away for some grandkids someday or helping some other people out too. Okay. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any other questions. Yeah, so Tanya had a really rough experience with a horrible dual enrollment professor and not responding and not answering questions. So I would hope, Tanya, if you've not already, that you hop on Rate My Professor and you leave your thoughts on that person too, just so that everyone can know. I think everyone should. Not only do I use it as a resource, but we should definitely, give our feedback when we have feedback on those professors too. Okay, so 2 other things here. We've hit a lot in terms of high school and college and getting them ready. First off, let me back up. All this dual enrollment, all this AP, remember guys, we can't even get there if we don't start thinking about high school early. So some classes that you could be knocking out in 7th grade and 8th grade, This could be math. This could be Algebra 1, which is a very common one to be hitting in middle school. It could also be an easier ninth grade English class, going ahead and hitting like a history and composition together English class, maybe in eighth grade. Another great one could be world geography, is an easier one to knock out in middle school. Trying to think of some of the other ones that we've done. U.S. history is a good middle school. You want to kind of think of what is the first class you would take in ninth grade, and maybe can my kid handle that in eighth grade or even seventh. So for us, for seventh grade, we've only attempted maybe 2 credits. I do have, we do a half a year of Spanish. So this is through an online school that we use, but they offer like basically Spanish 1/2 and then the other half of Spanish 1. So 7th grade and 8th grade. And then you end up with Spanish 2 in 9th grade. But you're going into 9th grade with 1 credit of Spanish already. So we're getting 1 credit of a foreign language. We're doing world geography. We're doing a history. So we've got 2 social studies done at that point. That's opening up some room for some dual enrollment. Most high schools only require 3 social studies credits. You see, so where we can start to knock off some of the required things is opening up more room for some electives. Even those electives end up being core classes. We're really trying to knock out some gen eds, some of the Englishes and histories and whatnot that the colleges are requiring. Even for Clemson, even for my upcoming senior, she wants to be a vet. Well, she's got a lot of science ahead of her. But if we can knock out some of the basics, the sociologies, Clemson requires some histories and some literatures, things that are great to have, but not really part of vet school. Those are great things to be adding as dual enrollment now. They're just giving her more high school credits, but she has the room for them because she's taken some things in 7th and 8th grade. So a reason to kind of start a little early there. Now, one side of this, we've talked a lot about academics, but there is another side to the planning on college, and that is your kids' extracurriculars. And I tend to be one that, like, I don't want to drive you any more places. Y'all just figure this out. But it is actually important that they are involved in things, and work can be that. It doesn't have to be that they're doing sports or that they're on the debate team. They can literally just be holding down a job. But colleges do want to see that they did something other than study. So don't just slam them with hard classes, but do consider the other elements of what your kids are doing. I've not raised any sports stars. No one in my family is amazing at any sport. We can do some, but we're not going to win any awards. But the fact that we still got out there and we tried, so our girls were on the cross country team. We were part of American Heritage Girls. Whatever you might get involved in community service, those are really great things for your kids to be doing. Even if it's just summer mission trips, trying to use those summers as wisely as you possibly can really help to make your kids look well-rounded when it comes to college admissions, but it also helps in terms of scholarships. So when we've got more experiences, we've got community service, we've got ways that we're involved. This is opening the door for more scholarships, and it's giving your kids also more things to even write about in those essays. So definitely consider the outside of class aspect as well. Awesome. So Tim Manlover says she did volunteer work at a soup kitchen and a library and then student council as well. Those are great ways to get plugged in. I love it. A lot of times you're going to let your kids lead here, the things that they're interested in, but encouraging them to do that. And public service is a huge one, probably even ranks above having a job, though jobs are great. I actually asked my college kids tonight before we went live, said, your friends that are on campus, is there anything that they've done that we didn't do, or anything, that you would say, hey, maybe we could have done that better, or a saving side to college that we've missed? And their big thing was that they do have friends that are working full-time jobs and going to school. And I've not asked my kids to do that. I've said, hey, you're going to school, but we have done work study. So they've definitely had that element while they've been in college, but your kids' work experience is still a good thing in high school. It can still be a great thing in college. And it can even be how you're making college work. So maybe you come up with a plan. Okay, we can do this, but it's going to mean that every summer you work full time. And the money from what you earn during the summer, plus the little bit that we've saved, we can make this happen. That's okay. Come up with the plan. Sit down and come up with it together. For my older girls, we did that not in the sense of working a ton. They do their work study and it does count towards their bill. But our big plan was, I'm telling you, you can spend 3 years there and no longer. And if that changes, we have a problem. So they had to be on that same page with me from the very beginning. We always were, and they're on track to graduate and be done. And that's great. That was part of how we were going to make it work. You went in with extra hours. We don't need to hang there. It's fun, but it's a lot of money to just hang out and have fun, right? So we need to make sure that everybody is in agreement with how we're going to pay for this in the end. And Sheila's saying her son was involved in Boy Scouts, and the ASU love that. A lot of colleges love that scouting side. So that's where American Heritage Girls is for us. It's like a Christian version of Girl Scouts. And we're seeing a lot of universities that also love it when they stick with that and they go all the way through. So yes, those are great things to look into. So one other side for paying for college, just to tuck the idea away for you, is that there are some unique scholarships out there. And I would encourage you to ask the universities that you're touring or that your kids are interested in, what unique scholarships do you offer that maybe aren't in the brochure? And a lot of them have a good list. They will require that you've done certain things though. So if I start asking for that list, I would like to see your scholarships that are not merit-based. These are just scholarships awarded to select incoming freshmen, or sometimes they're even scholarships awarded to not freshmen. They're folks that are already on campus. I'd like to see or have access to that scholarship list. Some of them have it posted online, not all of them. But you will find that there's some good money in there. When I say that they do require some things, one, for example, in our state, Anderson University, it's a private university, but there's a lot of South Carolina money that still ends up there. So in South Carolina, you can actually use your lottery money at any university in South Carolina, even a private one. So Anderson was still on the list for my girls in terms of ones we could afford. Well, Anderson, if you've got a boy, offers a $10,000 scholarship if your son participated in Boys State. And now that's over 4 years, but that's still $2,500 off a year just because your son participated in Boys State. Sadly, they do not offer that for Girls State. They offer I think $1,000 for Girls State. But the reason is that Anderson hosts Boys State for South Carolina. Now, Boys State and Girls State is like a pretend leadership and government week where they set up their own House and Senate and president and they pass laws, and they have this big civics week, and it's for high school juniors. So if I've got a sophomore, I need to be putting in my guidance counselor's ear that he would be interested in Boys State or she would be interested in Girls State. Each high school is eligible to send 2 students to Boys State and Girls State. And from a homeschool standpoint, we're part of a homeschool co-op or a large group in South Carolina. They are even allowed to send 2 boys and 2 girls to Boys State and Girls State. So getting chosen for that is giving you that opportunity for a chunk of money to that particular university. Another one would be Summit. Now, this is if your kids are interested in a Christian university, but Summit is a worldview conference. And we found, and we actually quickly signed up for it because this was where my girls were looking at going. We asked, what scholarships exist that we don't know about. We cannot afford this with 2 girls at the same time. And the first thing that their admission counselor said was, well, have you considered going to Summit? I said, what's Summit? And if you go, you end up with $1,000 off a year for 4 years or however long you're at the university. Yeah, sign me up. We're there. Tell me how to get there. Tell me what the dates are. So, especially if your kids have already decided on a university and you're trying to pay for it, but just doing the homework of what are these unique scholarships and what do I need to do to be eligible for them, because they may require you went to a course or you participated in this event. Knowing ahead of time is the only way that you can be a part of those. And if you didn't know, you're just completely missing out on the money. So ask those questions so that you don't miss out on those unique scholarship opportunities that are not merit-based. And that's the best way to ask for them when you're heading into the university. Okay, we have hit a lot of things, and I know that it's not a topic that is there for everyone, but hopefully it's a topic that helps a lot of people. So if you've got kids of any age, tuck this one away, save it for later. It will help. I'm also happy to answer any questions when it comes down to homeschool or getting ready for that. You can always send me an email, jenny@southernsavers.com. I've been doing this long enough that if I don't know the answer, I probably can find someone who does. I do know every state is different. So before you ask, what do I need to graduate? You're going to need to look up your state's requirements. But in terms of the college side, I can probably help for sure. Getting your ducks in a row. I will show you one more thing before we hop off, and that is that I do recommend that you think ahead. And so for my girls, I have kept a spreadsheet for each of them as they've gone through high school, knocking off the classes as we've done them, but also mapping them out so that I can see in the end, how many credits do we have? Did we get everything we needed to have gotten? Did we achieve what English wanted? English only wanted 4. We achieved 5. In math, we only needed 4, but we're going to end up with 6. This is great. But I'm making sure we didn't miss something. And I'm also, making sure we've got our little personal finance down here, that we're not ever in a boat where we were forced to graduate early either. We've held on to our last little, card. We're not playing all our cards on the table too early. But having that in a spreadsheet, planning that out, just helps you to make sure you're not missing a step. So I've had that ready with each of our girls, kind of mapped out, starting, you'll see even on that little spreadsheet, if you zoom in, we started in 7th grade so that we were ready on a few classes and kind of taking advantage of that. And Tin Man Lover says, do a homeschool Q&A. I totally could. I'm also happy to answer any questions too when it comes to homeschool. I don't know. I think we did, I guess, over COVID, we hit a homeschool Q&A on just as people were really jumping into it during that time. I don't know that I've covered it any other time. But that's where we are for tonight. We've hit a lot of things in the college and high school realm, and hopefully it is helpful for some of you guys. Tomorrow, and what grade are my girls in now? So I have seniors in high school. I have seniors in college, 2 seniors in college. I have a rising senior in high school. I have a rising 8th grader. Our grades get fuzzy, but we don't graduate early. And I have a rising 5th grader. So that's where everybody is across the board. And it's a fun one, though I think my rising 5th grader would consider herself a rising 6th grader. But that's the joys of homeschool, right? So we're going to work on our early courses that we can knock out. We're not going to graduate early, but sometimes it always struggles when you ask a homeschooler what grade they're in. But that's where everyone is. It's a fun span. Okay. And Cindy, your junior is clueless at what colleges to look at. I kind of get that too. What I would recommend really is starting to ask them questions on what do you want to do, and then researching what that opens up. So my junior, now senior, really wants to do an animal sciences undergrad. She knows that going into vet school, she needs a ton of biology classes. we could do a bio degree at a number of universities, but to her, that's boring. She wants the animal experience now, and she doesn't want to just take bio classes and have no animal side. So she's like, no, I want to do an animal sciences undergrad and take all those science classes, but get that hands-on animal side as well. Well, for us, that's one university in the state of South Carolina. So she would be willing to look at other places, but there isn't another option. And that narrowed down her list a lot. For my older girls, we toured a lot of colleges, and they kind of decided after those college tours what they were mostly interested in. So I may go that route with your junior. If they're not really ready to make decisions, or they really don't have a care, start to tour them and just get an idea of what is making them excited or what they don't like about these schools, so you can start to narrow some off of the list. Like us with Furman. Yeah, we're done. You're not going to take any of these dual enrollments in AP? Thanks for your time. But the tours can really help them to see what it is that they're looking for. Do they want a small school? Do they want a big school? That's what I would encourage them to do. Yeah, they could end up at Clemson too. I'm all for it. If we can all get in, right? Let's all fingers crossed. I hope that we all get in. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and call it there for tonight. I'll be back on tomorrow at 3 o'clock with all of the drugstore deals. It's a pretty fun week in CVS, and it's the last week to get those deals. I didn't do a drugstore video last week, but we will tomorrow. So 3 o'clock Tuesday, that's always our drugstore time. So hop on if you can, or watch it after the fact if you can't. I have gotten all of those lists updated though. So if you head over to the CVS list or the Walgreens list on Southern Savers, you will already see all those deals. If you click on the top deals as well, the $1 or less deals, you'll see everything that's great. There's 50-cent toothpaste, there's 99-cent hair care. There's a lot this week. So definitely make sure you make plans to join us. Next week is Memorial Day, but I'm still going to do a Q&A with you guys. And I thought we would actually talk online deals, how to spot a sale, how to find a deal, and just the best online deals, because it's a 3-day weekend. So we're going to try to hit the best of what we've seen over the Memorial Day sales next Monday night. If there are things that you're needing and you don't find a deal on them, then come armed with a list and I'll try to help you find a deal on those last little bits. Also, no stress, but most Memorial Day sales get held over one more day. They were planning on doing that from the start. So we'll really have through Tuesday to shop all of those deals next week. So make plans to join me next Monday night for that too, as we talk online deals and how to spot a sale, just in general, just tips for what is a good price as we're hunting for things online. So that's our plan. Hopefully I can catch you tomorrow. If not, I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining me tonight. And if you've got any follow-up questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or to send me an email, jenny@southernsavers.com. I'm always glad to help. Thanks, guys.